Yuki, Shiho, and Sho from Nihonkushi University, and
I'm Yating from Wenzhou University.
I have a question to students. Do you use social media in your daily life? Yes. Thank you. Today, we would like to talk about the use of social media in education between Japanese and Chinese students. This is our outline.
At first, let me tell you why we chose this theme for our presentation. These days, many people often use social media for many purposes, such as chatting with friends and using the internet. But some experts say many problems have occurred because of the wrong use of social media. So, we should know how to use it in better ways. However, how can we connect it to well-being? Well-being has some aspects, so it's not only for people with handicap, but also for everyone all over the world. Then, we decided to spotlight effective use of social media in education. For that, we focused on the use of social media in education between Japanese and Chinese students to clarify the scope of a survey. The purpose of this presentation is to have a future view of the better use of social media, considering the differences between us. But before we tell you what we found, we would like to tell you about one well-known social media in China.
What is WeChat? WeChat is the most famous social media in China. About 1 billion people use it in some ways. In China, we can't use big social media like Line, Facebook, or Google. But instead of those, WeChat became one of the most popular social media with useful functions. And now, having WeChat is needed for Chinese people. And it has some learning functions. For example, we have a platform where students can answer teachers' questions. And when they communicate with students overseas, they can use a video call. In short, Chinese people can do many things only with WeChat.
But how about Japan? We can use Google Plus or Facebook to share educational content. However, Line or Messenger that we use for chatting doesn't have that kind of function. We use some tools depending on the purposes. So what can be found from such differences between Japan and China? To understand it more, we carried out 2 types of surveys. Firstly, we talked with teachers specializing in education to confirm the validity of our questionnaire items. Secondly, we conducted questionnaires to students.
Please pay attention to this slide. It indicates which social media Chinese students often use. As we can see, WeChat is the most needed social media among Chinese students. And as for this slide, it shows how often they use it for their study. Most students use it more than once a week. And they know some learning functions. Although they use it for chatting, they can use it in education as well, since both functions are included. So it's possible for them to feel annoyed to use it for their study when they like to chat. But as this result shows, most of them like use WeChat to study. And surprisingly, 70% of them don't feel bad about using it. Even their teacher might enter students' personal space. We can see they like using WeChat to study.
Then, what about Japan? They use some famous social media in daily life, but when they study, they use unfamiliar social media and they seldom do it, because most of them don't know how to use it for their study. However, more than 70% of Japanese students say they like to use social media in education. But unlike WeChat, Japanese social media doesn't have learning functions that are easy for students to use.
What can we say from these results? We think social media will be more essential for us to use in education. So, we should know how to use it in practical ways. However, there are some points we have to think about. For instance, some earlier research showed that most students don't want to use social media with their teachers. But our results show most of both Japanese and Chinese students don't mind using social media with teachers. With thinking about such an issue carefully, we need to look for the better use of social media.
And now we are realizing it. Learning is not only taking lectures, but going to the wider field by ourselves. For this event, we discussed how to make a good presentation through social media. And thanks to that, we all can stand here today. Like this case, using social media for international collaborative learning can make us consider and realize the better use of social media. And we believe it will improve our own well-being. Finally, let me summarize the presentation. In this presentation, we clarify the differences of the social media use in education between Japan and China. From these differences, we can think about better ways of using it in education. We also pointed out what we need to care about to use it effectively. For our bright future, we should have a responsibility for making the better use of social media. When we can make it, we'll see the bigger world filled with well-being. These are references. So everybody, let's take our first step together as a member of this international society. Thank you for your kind attention.